Hello everyone, my name is Cyrus Hojati. We are here at the Grand Sawyer Building, here to testify against the sanctuary state. And as you can see here, there's a lot of cars parked right here. There's a lot of people who are geared up, fed up, fired of this lawlessness and politicians catering to illegal aliens. And with all of these so many cars, I smell civil war. And if not, I probably don't know what a civil war is. And you also have an organization called Make the Road Nevada. I believe it's funded by billionaires, and they are paid agitators who are here to talk about many other organizations about the event.
It is a federal law. If I break a federal law in front of a law enforcement officer anywhere in this nation, I will go to prison. And they should too. And then they should get sent home. Period. There is no in between. You do not get amnesty. You do not get a choice.
Ma'am, please.
I'm sorry, I am very passionate about this, but all of these people have money concerns. I have life concerns. You understand? My son is out there on drugs. I have life concerns because illegal immigrants moved in next door to me and decided to get my child to drugs. See, y'all don't understand that. So whenever an illegal immigrant moves next door to you and kills your kids onto drugs, then you can tell me to have order, okay? Because I'm getting out of order.
Thank you. I'm going to remind members here, please no outbursts. Most of you have been fantastic today, but if we can keep this professional process, this is the legislative body. We're here to deliberate policy. We're not here to hear outbursts. So,
and I would also like to point out on the record, there's an individual in this hearing holding up a sign that says "Stop the illegal invasion." This is another intimidation tactic that is being allowed to run rampant here in this hearing, as it was previously done before in this body. Thank you very much.
Before I begin, there were people from Make the Road Nevada. They are paid agitators. You can look it on Craigslist. We have a borders crisis. This is a global immigration plan. Massive inflows are also pouring into Europe. And thanks to Open Borders, a sponsor of the bill, if you look at Flores' district, it's a third world nightmare. Las Vegas is against sanctuary cities from Caroline Goodman. And the question is, how do we benefit from unlawful immigration? Do you guys ever explain that? Well, let's look at the reality. Many of them get jobs by stealing social security numbers. It lowers our wages. There's language barriers. And according to Harry Reid, he admitted in 1993 that these anchor babies are used to get welfare. And they flood our public schools with ESL courses. It's no wonder why our schools are so underperforming. And what they do with their wages, they send the money abroad. And I don't want to be misunderstood. To solve the unlawful immigration problem, we don't need a police state. Let's look at what we have. 50 to 70% of gaming employees are foreign born. And thanks to the casino lobbying and the Culinary Workers Union, I believe the best thing we can do is to find employers. We can e-verify and we can tax the remittances. This is a much effective way to solve the problem. This country needs a merit-based immigration system that puts American people first. I fled California for one reason, to get away from the lawlessness, and this is what I get. And speaking of police state, let's talk about what happened to me a couple of weeks ago. In late January, I visited the house of B. Duran, Assemblywoman, to talk about gas prices. One of her housemates let me in her house. Next thing you know, 40 days later, Metro was sent to my police for following the law. So you talk about police state, I follow the law from a blue packet, and this is what you do. I also spoke to Assemblywoman Monk, and I told her about the bill. And you know what she tells me? She tells me, oh, well, what's your heritage? She tells me, yeah, you need to get a job. You need to move out of your parents' house. Excuse me, all my family lives in California. And if I can show you my bank account statement, she should probably get a real job.
Minutes is up, so let's go to the individual next to you.
Salam, I am Cyrus Hojati, son of two legal immigrants from Iran. This bill doesn't do much. Let's get this straight here. This is a global immigration plan. Mass immigration is pouring also into Europe. We have a border crisis. Many are still pouring in. And let's talk about the sponsor of this bill, Mr. Flores, about his district. His district, it looks like a third world nightmare.
You limit your comments to the bill itself. If you're in the neutral position, you're not taking a position on the bill, but Your comments have to be limited to the bill itself.
Okay,
not to
well,
sponsor.
the issue is that the city of Las Vegas might sue because Caroline Goodman is opposed to sanctuary city. Now, here's a real issue. What benefit are we getting from unlawful immigrants? Because this is what a lot of us are not telling us. Many of them come here, steal social security numbers, lower our wages, there are language barriers, and according to Harry Reid in 1993, they have their anchor baby children get welfare. Many of them flood our schools.
I'm gonna ask you to cease your testimony. This is opposition testimony. It's not neutral testimony. We are in neutral testimony at this time. So again, I want to remind committee members, neutral means you're not taking any position on the policy that's advanced.
Okay, but I didn't know when opposition was ending. I appreciate it if you would have told me.
Sir, I just ended opposition. This is neutral testimony. I've said that several times. So if there's anyone who's actually neutral on the bill.
Okay, can I tell you my immigration solution? Just 30 seconds.
No, sir, you can come up in public comment if you like at the end, but this would not be the time in the context of this bill, so.
Okay, well, I'll wait for public comment then. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sir, please go ahead. We'll just pan the room somewhat, and I'll note that we have overflow rooms as well, so it might be additional people, but I at least wanted to have that on record. So you can also
Opposition.
And then please make sure if you didn't get a chance that you sign in on the sign in.
With the Progressive Leadership Alliance in Nevada. We want to thank the bill sponsor, Assemblyman Flores, for bringing this policy forward. We appreciate the collaborative work from the stakeholders and ask you to vote yes on AB 281. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Please continue down in Las Vegas.
My name is Michael Kagan. I'm a First Mac Professor of Law at the Boyd School of Law at UNLV, and most importantly for today, the Director of the UNLV Immigration Clinic. I'm very happy to be here in support of AB 281. It bears directly on issues that we face daily in our clinic. In Clark County, in fiscal year 2018, more than 80% of the people arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement were handed over by local police, not directly arrested by ICE. It's also important to understand that in this state, almost 1 in 5 children have an undocumented immigrant parent at home. Since September 1st, 2018, our clinic has received calls for assistance from people detained by ICE after being handed over by local police. Their criminal histories include the following: unpaid traffic tickets and bench warrants, driving without valid insurance and a bench warrant, driving without a license, loitering and trespass, and in some cases, charges that were dropped. Nevertheless, these people were handed over to ICE. These are minor charges, and they're not a reason to rob a child of his mother or father. Legally, nothing mandates that police turn people over to ICE, especially not people without serious criminal records. In fact, our constitutional system asks that each state decide independently what makes sense for its people, and our immigration laws allow that as well. For that reason, it's very heartening to see that we are moving towards a Nevada solution to this that's developed with the cooperation of law enforcement. Their engagement is especially welcome here. I have to say there are important cautions. I cannot say that I could explain to anyone why 287G programs benefit our communities. Many police forces in cities that achieve lower crime rates than our cities seem to do well without these agreements. The law enforcement benefits are nebulous, and the downsides are clear. They give the entire immigrant community, including children, including people who may need to call 911, a reason to mistrust the police. But despite that reservation, I don't want to take away from what can be accomplished here. The cooperation has been shown in putting this bill forward, and the support demonstrated today would be a tremendous step forward for our state in setting a Nevada solution to a vexing problem. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kagan. Let's stay down in Las Vegas, please.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Maria Nieto, and I am the Civic Engagement Organizer for Mi Familia Vota. We want to thank the bill sponsor, Assemblyman Flores, for bringing this policy forward. We also want to urge you guys to vote yes on AB 281, for it is a great example of law enforcement and the state working together. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Please remember to state your name first.
My name is Sylvia Lasos. I'm a law professor and a Latino community leader. I'm here to testify in support of AB 281. As a community leader, I've had people knock on my door in the middle of the night in desperation, not knowing where their loved ones are. This bill will promote greater transparency and the balance that it strikes with law enforcement and the needs of our community to know where our loved ones are is essential and should be supported by your committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please go ahead, sir.
Good morning to the chair and members of the committee. My name is Aroni Lara. I'm program assistant for the UNLV Student Diversity and Social Justice Department. I want to thank Assemblyman Flores for bringing this policy forward, and we appreciate the collaborative effort with law enforcement and other stakeholders on this item, and ask that you vote yes on AB 281. Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Buenos días, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Ceci Alvarado. I am the State Director for Mi Familia Vota, and I'm here on behalf of my community to fully support AB 281. And want to thank sponsor Assemblyman Flores for bringing this policy forward. We appreciate the collaborative work of the stakeholders and ask you to vote yes on AB 281. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there someone else? Okay, let's take testimony. Mr. Sullivan, please go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Jim Sullivan. I'm here representing the Culinary Union. We agree with Assemblyman Flores and our partners have planned that this bill would be a step in the right direction for our community, and we fully support it. Thank you.
My name is Melissa Quatrux, and I'm the director of our Viva Las Vegas Worker Center. I'm here to testify in opposition to this bill as I feel that it does not go far enough in protecting our community. The members of our Viva Las Vegas and the Las Vegas community in general are deeply impacted by the issues this bill begins to address. While AB 281 is an important start to a discussion that must be had, this bill falls far short of the actions needed to address the deep issues of community fear, family separation, and the dangerous convergence of local law enforcement and immigration and customs enforcement. Studies consistently show that when law enforcement knowingly works with immigration and customs enforcement, community safety suffers. In 2012, a national study showed that 44% of Latinos of any immigration status were less likely to report crimes of which they were a victim. A 2018 study focused on undocumented community members showed that they are 60% less likely to report crimes they witness and 43% less likely to report crimes they are victims of. These statistics do not bode well for community safety. In my comments today, I would like to call on this committee and the legislature to amend the bill as written to specifically strike out references to 287G or any other non-mandatory enforcement program. These programs serve only to drain local resources, complicate and confuse the agencies that manage them, and create additional barriers for local families who seek to feel safe in their community. Recent data obtained from the City of Las Vegas Department of Public Safety shows that Las Vegas city staff have had a direct hand in the deportation proceedings of more than 1,600 Nevadans since 2017. This at the cost of more than $200,000 to the taxpayers of Las Vegas. These costs in relation to detaining individuals for 48 hours, up to 48 hours on detainers waiting for immigration to take custody. Data obtained also reveals... Okay.
Excuse me, we're right at 2 minutes, so I want to thank you for your testimony.
Okay, thank you.
If additional testimony can be submitted to our committee secretary down there, please.
I will do, thank you.
Okay, whoever's next in Las Vegas.
Good morning. My name is Leo Murrieta. I'm the Executive Director of Make the Road Nevada. I'm here in opposition to AB 281 because, again, it does not go far enough and our community deserves better. For the last 10 years, our local law enforcement has been cooperating with ICE and, in fact, terrorizing and separating families in our community. We implore our local police department to lead like other police departments across the country that have eliminated 287G agreements and begin to truly build trust, protect, and truly serve all of us. Because of 287G, we have hardworking families that contribute to our state who fear local law enforcement. 287G does not make our community safer. Because victims of crime do not come forward in fear, they can be detained by ICE. Metro Police Department has assisted in the deportation of over 1,600 community members, most of them for minor offenses like traffic violations. All immigrants in our community deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, We implore that the bill sponsor specifically amend AB 281 to strike out references to 287G or any other non-mandatory enforcement programs. And I would also like to point out on the record, there's an individual in this hearing holding up a sign that says "Stop the Illegal Invasion." This is another intimidation tactic that is being allowed to run rampant here in this hearing, as it was previously done before in this body. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Let's take the other person down at the table in Las Vegas.
Good morning, committee. My name is Mac Miller. That's M-A-C-K, Miller. Mac Miller for Nevada.com. I am here today specifically representing, as an advocate, 2 legal immigrants, citizens of Las Vegas. A number of years ago, the daughter of this woman was attempting to become a legal citizen and come to this country. It took them 4 years of endless paperwork and denials and back and forths for them to come into this country legally. They followed the law accordingly, and each time they were denied. But finally, not only she, but also her daughter became legal in this country and gained legal acceptance into this country. That young girl grew into a wonderful young lady, and she's 9 years old. And she most recently, at a local school, is in a GATE program, and she's making straight A's. And she had the pleasure of speaking in her native tongue of Mandarin Chinese and singing to open the Chinese New Year ceremonies in front of our state's governor, which he actually took pictures with her. These are the examples that we want to encourage in legal immigration for this country, in this state. I'll say that that woman and that little girl that came to this country legally is my daughter. And this is a picture of my daughter and I holding an American flag. We would like all immigrants to come legally, and we don't object to that. That's what this nation is about. But we want them to follow the law, as my family followed the law, as my daughter was required to follow the law, and she's an upstanding citizen. If this bill changes nothing, as I've heard many say, then why waste your time and our tax dollars in introducing the bill?
Sir, you're right at 2 minutes. So.
Canadian, and I'll keep this brief. I echo too what Vice Chairman Jim DeGraff and Reid and also Anita Trone, what they just expressed. I would also advise to vote against AB 281. I'm going to be relocating my family of 6 because of the overcrowded schools, because of the violence that has escalated. And I know for a fact, because my mother-in-law, Mayor Pro Tem Lois Tarkanian, I know that she is advised on a regular basis about the gang situation, and it is increasing. MS-13 has been a major problem down here, which consists primarily of illegals from El Salvador. And we will be relocating to Gardnerville for the next school year. And I pray that I'm not making the wrong choice by not relocating my family to an entire different state altogether. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Continuing in Las Vegas, please.
Good morning, my name is Jesus Marquez. Thank you, members of this committee. I'm a local Hispanic community organizer and also a Spanish radio show talk host. We have over 50,000 listeners a week. The people of Nevada, including a third of which are Latinos like myself, deserve the best protection from our local law enforcement agencies. It is in our best interest that our local law enforcement is allowed to do their job, which is to protect our communities to the best of their abilities. If passed, AB 281 will effectively diminish that ability by prohibiting local law enforcement agencies to cooperate with federal agencies when it comes to dealing with certain criminals. AB 281 will restrict our local law enforcement to do their jobs to the best of their abilities. AB 281 in section 1, line 3 to 6 says no state or local law enforcement agency, schools, police unit, or campus police department shall detain a person on the basis of a hold request. Hold request is where the problem resides. This law, if passed, will make it impossible for our two main law enforcement factions to cooperate on serving their most important purpose, which is to protect our communities, the people of Nevada, especially Latinos, which are the most likely to be victimized by these criminals. Now, we know that not all undocumented immigrants are criminal, but we are only talking about the ones who are. This bill, besides representing a danger to our communities, will also put significant federal grants and funding at risk. Funding that was destined to our state and that our communities desperately need may now be jeopardized. So I will ask you to please vote no to AD 281. Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
My name is Mary Rooney. I live in Henderson, Nevada, and I am representing an organization called Nevadans Can. The primary responsibility of law enforcement is to protect our communities and keep them safe. I am opposed to SB 281 because it does not promote the general welfare and common good. In fact, it does just the opposite. It elevates the perceived rights of lawbreakers and criminals above the rights of American citizens. It's bad enough to be the victim of a crime, but it is ludicrous and cruel to be the victim of a crime perpetrated by someone who has no right to be in our country. Someone who, had our laws been fairly administered and followed according to appropriate priorities, would not be here, rendering the crime avoidable. What society in its right mind allows avoidable crimes to occur? Furthermore, this bill propagates within our state a growing population of individuals who, at best, ignore our laws, and at worst, flagrantly violate them. Lest anyone feel the motives of those who oppose this bill are anti-immigrant, let me set the record straight. My mother was an immigrant from Italy. She moved here after World War II when she married my father. And my husband, my deceased husband, was an immigrant from Ireland. I love immigrants. However, they came here after fulfilling a very arduous screening process, and they never cost the American taxpayer one dime. That's immigration. What is happening in our country today is anything but.
My name is Pauline Lee, and I am the president of the Nevada Republican Club, which is the largest Republican club here in the state of Nevada. I am also an attorney licensed in 3 states, in California, Texas, and Nevada. I'm here to oppose AB 281, which actively prohibits local law enforcement from detaining a person based on a federal hold request. AB 281 violates the Supremacy Clause in Article 6 of the United States Constitution, which gives the federal government priority in any case where state laws hinder legislation passed by Congress, as enforced by the President. AB 281 violates the Supremacy Clause by barring the federal government's ability to enforce federal immigration laws. And the bill violates immigration laws which are within the exclusive purview of the federal government. The U.S. Supreme Court consistently has upheld the Supremacy Clause. In fact, most recently in 2012, in the case of Arizona versus the United States, the U.S. Supreme Court held that an Arizona strict immigration state rule was deemed unconstitutional because it violated federal rules on immigration. Similarly, in this particular case, AB 281 attempts to restrict federal law enforcement of immigration by banning local law officers from cooperating with federal officials. Such a conflict between the laws will only result in a resolution which will only be determined in the courts, thus creating costly attorney fees and serious risk to our personal and national security. With respect to the bill itself, there is a lot of confusion with respect to what constitutes an independent finding of probable cause, because in Section E, you talk about independent finding of probable cause, yet right under there, you have you actually allow a clear and convincing standard by which to
And ma'am,
create
we're
that.
right at 2 minutes, so I'm gonna ask you to.
In summary?
Comments to the committee secretary.
In summary,
Your 2
we,
minutes are up, ma'am. Ma'am,
thank you,
it's a 2-minute limit, so I'm gonna go to the individual to your right, please.
thank you.
Yeah, good morning, my name is John Herman, I oppose this bill. What about diseases, homeless, hospice, wait times, costs, needles on the streets, human waste, property devaluation, crime? Caroline Rosen, State Director of NARC, wrote in her testimony in support of this bill, and I quote, AB 248 provides important protection for survivors to ensure that repeated offenders are held accountable. I also want protection for survivors and ensure that repeated offenders are held accountable. If they are illegal, I want ICE to be informed. Is this not what we all want? Protection and justice for all of us? We know that there are too many repeated offenders that are let go where a judge denies bond and will not inform ICE and sets them free to take another life. For example, we all know about the 19-year-old immigrant, Guzman, who was charged with 4 murders now in Carson City. Are we going to let him free? Sabrina Starr, 21. The Middlesex jail would not honor the ICE immigration hold. The individual killer was on a speakerphone during the shooting with an accomplice. That individual could hear the victims begging for their lives. How would you react if this happened to your loved ones? Please let us know. Questions. Will this bill deny a judge from informing ICE, prevent police from contacting ICE, prevent sheriffs from contacting ICE? What about MS-13? Are we going to let them free? Please tell us the truth. Also, this argument, this violates federal law. Caroline Robinson wants compensation for innocent victims, and so do we. We all want justice for senseless murders. And are illegal immigrants more important than Americans? Please answer that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll go to the person to your right.
My name is Cameron Taylor. I'm a resident of North Las Vegas, Nevada, and I am an immigrant from South Africa, so I speak as an immigrant here, and I stand opposed to AB 281, and I will go ahead and give my reasons why. Every one of you in this room have taken the constitutional oath of office when you were sworn in. The oath says that you have sworn to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You took this oath to the American citizen and the illegal residents of Nevada, not to those that are here illegally. The bill before you not only violates your oath of office, but to the American citizens and legal residents, but it also violates federal law and puts the American people in jeopardy by having illegal criminal aliens running loose with no fear of reciprocity. This is unacceptable, and it is immoral and evil. Speaking as a legal resident of this country and living in this state, my right to a state free of criminal elements overrides the right of that criminal element to live in it when they have violated its statutes. To place the safety of those that have lived by the rules in danger by protecting those that have not lived by the rules violates every sense of moral common decency and opens the state of Nevada up to future lawsuits brought by those who you have sworn to protect, but failed to, and due to that, became victims of a crime perpetrated by those that were not turned over by our local police department. The American citizen and the legal resident's safety should always be the first priority, not the person who is here illegally. On behalf of we the people, I stand against this bill, and I urge the legislatures to do so also. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to come up here to Carson City. Please.
Mancia Araizaga. I'm a native Las Vegan, and I am, my father is from Mexico City and also is my husband, and they are legal citizens. I am very strongly opposed to AB 281 as a homeowner, business owner, and a taxpayer. Passing AB 281 to make Nevada a sanctuary city and state will subject lawful citizens to a higher crime rate and strongly deteriorate our Nevada and Las Vegas and much we are in much need of ICE and our Metro working together to enforce laws to make our country safer as a nation. Nevada has already suffered greatly in illegal immigration that has been gaining popularity. And I am very concerned when I see the illegal aliens, not, when they're called undocumented workers or undocumented, basically it means that they're illegal. I, as a business owner, document everyone legally and make sure that, they're able to pay taxes. So it's a little upsetting when we are making allowances for people to just be protected and to consider our Nevada being a sanctuary to people to continue breaking laws and not paying taxes. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Let's stay down in Las Vegas.
Hello, my name is Gabrielle Clark, and I represent the poor people, okay, in this city. Now, I don't understand why we're even having this discussion, but I'm gonna tell you like this. I am a homeless, disabled, widowed mother of 5. And I have not seen one of my sons for an entire year because an illegal alien opened up a trap house next door to my house. So when my son got on drugs, and I was calling the police all the time, and they were just standing outside chilling, and the police couldn't do anything about it because they weren't doing anything wrong, so to speak. You should be able to do whatever it takes to get these criminals out of here with no kind of exceptions. And until me and my kids are stable, sleeping in beds, medical care, you shouldn't give any kind of protection to any illegal alien at all, period. It is a federal law. If I break a federal law in front of a law enforcement officer anywhere in this nation, I will go to prison. And they should too. And then they should get sent home, period. There is no in between. You do not get amnesty. You do not get a choice.
Ma'am, please.
I'm sorry, I am very passionate about this, but all of these people have money concerns. I have life concerns. You understand? My son is out there on drugs. I have life concerns because illegal immigrants moved in next door to me and decided to take my child to drugs. See, y'all don't understand that. So whenever an illegal immigrant moves next door to you and kills your kids onto drugs, then you can tell me to have work. Okay, because I'm getting out of work.
Thank you. I'm going to remind members here, please don't outburst. Most of you have been fantastic today, but if we can keep this professional process, this is the legislative body, we're here to deliberate policy. We're not here to hear outbursts. So again, I will remind you to keep your emotions in check. And we're going to go to our final person in Las Vegas, which is the lady that's in blue, who was sitting there with the initial 3. We'll take your testimony, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Hi, your legislators. My name's Linda Buckhart, for the record. I'm opposed to AB 281. I feel this bill will not protect our newcomers who want to become good citizens from those who want to come here and do harm.
They're going to continue to provide information and share information to the Department of Homeland Security. It very clearly says that. The only thing we're saying, not the only thing, but amongst the many things we're saying here, we're just clarifying that law enforcement, when they're stopping somebody on the street, they're not going to simply put somebody in jail because they're undocumented. That the probable cause is just they're undocumented, I'm going to grab them and put them in jail just because of that. They already do. They're going to continue to do what they're doing now. So if somebody gets pulled over because they violated some law, state law, and or if somebody gets called to a home because they violated some state law enforcement will continue to do their job. They will hold them, and their probable cause will be based on that. And they'll put them in, they'll take them to jail and continue to do their work. And when they go to jail, they will continue to run them through the 287G program, share to the Department of Homeland Security. That's what they're going to do. That's what's happening. Chuck Galloway has indicated that that's what they're doing now, and that they're going to continue to do that. We're in no way infringing on that. I think what's happening is that you've got an email, and you've allowed yourself to utilize that email as a basis for what this. The language is rather clear.
Actually,
it is. No, it is. It's rather clear, and you're just trying to confuse the issue.
No, I'm sorry. My question is not based on any email whatsoever. My question is based on the reading of the bill, because under Section C, it begins to look like we're not going to follow the federal judiciary, or excuse me, the federal chief executive branch, but under Section B, it looks as though we are going to follow the federal judiciary if they issue a warrant.
And Assemblyman Edwards, I think Assemblyman Flores has answered the question. I will note for the record that the Terry versus Ohio case that Director Callaway mentioned is a U.S. Supreme Court case. And I think it is the law of this land that any court order, even if based on poor legal reasoning, a valid court order from a state or federal court must be obeyed. And I think that was established by our U.S. Supreme Court back when Martin Luther King was held in contempt for violating a court order. And he said this court order is unjust. And the court said it doesn't matter, go to court to challenge it. So I think what was being said was that Director Callaway indicated that Metro will obey a valid court order from either the federal or state government, but in the absence of a valid court order under Terry versus Ohio, they are not allowed to detain at the scene for more than an hour. I don't want this to devolve to a back and forth. So I feel like Assemblyman Flores has answered that question, and I would like to move on at this point if other members have questions. Assemblyman Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is for Director Callaway. Maybe you can refresh our memory. There was a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals change that actually further restricted 287G and required warrants to be issued before we place a detainer, so that applies here as another branch of government that's actually weighed in that has jurisdiction over our state.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Chuck Callaway for the record to Assemblyman Roberts. That's absolutely correct. As many will remember, in 2013, under Sheriff Gillespie, our agency stopped detaining anyone for ICE for a period of time because of some Ninth Circuit court cases, the one that Assemblyman Roberts mentioned. Since that time, ICE has revamped their detainer program, and now my understanding is those detainers come through a federal judge and they constitute probable cause. And because of the new detainer method, we are now back, I believe in 2015 or 2016, we started again detaining for ICE based on the fact that they had changed the detainer process to establish probable cause. And I would also like to mention in Section 1, it does allow for independent finding of probable cause. So if, and the way I interpret that is if an officer in the field had probable cause that a crime was committed or was about to be committed, then the officer can take appropriate action based on probable cause. So I just want to make that clear as well.
Thank you, Director Callaway. Further questions? Assemblywoman Tulsi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Assemblyman Flores and Chuck Callaway, or Director Callaway, for answering questions. So what I'm hearing is that Las Vegas Metro Police is already doing this, and I'm curious to know what about the other jurisdictions across the state?
Chuck Callaway for the record to Assemblywoman Tolles. I believe, and I don't want to speak, I know Mr. Spratley, who represents Sheriffs and Chiefs, is at a meeting in Tonopah today, so he couldn't be here. And I certainly don't want to speak for all the rules. I'm not familiar with how the other 16 counties do business. I believe, based on my conversations with Washoe, they have a similar process to us. They don't utilize 287G, but I believe that they have an ICE representative at the Washoe County Jail. But again, I don't want to speak for them and say something that's inaccurate. But yes, I believe that the way this bill, as I said in the beginning, the way this bill is written, it will not change how Metro in Clark County operates. It'll status quo for us. We'll continue to do business as we always have, even with this bill.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, somebody that refers for the record,
I'm working alongside law enforcement with this. Now, there is a question as to what exactly is happening as a practice on the streets. We may not, all stakeholders may not agree as to exactly what's happening, but we're trying to, through this bill, ensure that we're all on the same page. Law enforcement has consistently, specifically Las Vegas Metro, has consistently said, this is our practice, but I think there's been some pushback from the community as to if exactly that's the way it's happening. I think through this bill, we're trying to solidify some of that.